Yo, it's my guy Luffy.
Hey, yo, bro, tell me something real quick. So what's up between you and Boa, though?
You don't want that? Why wouldn't you want that? You crazy. You scared of snakes, man? What are you talking about? Damn, it's hot as a Kainu's balls out here.
Man, where is this dude?
Hey, yo, what is this? What am I looking at? Obviously, I'm having a conversation with Luffy. A conversation, boy? You talking with a toy. Alright, but so what if he's a toy? I'm not even talking to you for real. I edited this conversation in later, so what is it that you want, bro?
Alright, fair enough, but look, I just came to ask you a question. Who's your favorite revolutionary?
Che Guevara.
Alright, slow your ass down, let me finish talking. Who's your favorite revolutionary from One Piece?
Oh, that's what you meant. Probably my homeboy's dad, Dragon.
No, it's not Dragon. Your favorite isn't Dragon. Try again.
It's not Dragon. How you gonna tell me what I like?
Bro, I'm you.
Alright, fair enough. It's Sabo. My favorite revolutionary, Sabo.
Yeah, I know it's Sabo. And we gotta go make a video about him right now.
We gotta go make a video?
Matter of fact, we in a video about Sabo right now.
Oh!
Sabo, the Flame Emperor. And, I'm just gonna say it, the better version of Ace. Anyway, I feel like Sabo as a character has always been criminally underrated in the One Piece fandom. It could be because he was introduced very late into the show, on top of that his appearance correlated with the death of Ace, and since he got pulled seemingly out of nowhere and was revealed to also be Luffy's brother, it made it look even more like he was just going to be a replacement for Ace. Hell, he even eats the same fruit and gains the same power. However, as we learn more about Sabo's character, his choices, his backstory, and his overall impact on the One Piece world and spend more time with him, we realize just how complex and important he really is in the grand scheme of things. And at this point, he's become much more than just a replacement for Ace and has solidified himself as integral to the series. Of course, Sabo is part of the Revolutionary Army, being the second in command to none other than Luffy's dad, Monkey D. Dragon, so automatically he's going to be playing an extremely important role. But I'd go as far as to say that Sabo is the most important revolutionary in One Piece. Today I want to go over his character a bit and explain why I believe that no one has done more to push forward the cause of the Revolutionary Army than Sabo, and what I believe his role will ultimately be in the series. I'd also like to talk a bit about how Sabo's character is a perfect personification for the spirit of revolution. Part 1 裕福な子供時代
俺のことは俺、サボ
We know that Sabo was best friends with Luffy and Ace. Well, he was friends with Ace first. When he first met Luffy, Sabo and Ace actually contemplated killing him. But you know, they got over that as all best friends do. As children, they spent a lot of time together, bonding over their shared desire to become pirates. In fact, when we first meet Sabo, he's 10 years old, and we learn that he and Ace had been saving money for 5 years from the time Sabo was 5 to become pirates later on. We also learned that Sabo is from Great Terminal, a place right outside the Goa Kingdom's walls, described as being beyond the reach of the law or doctors, rife with crime and disease. A place used as a literal trash dump for nearby lands. It's said that all unwanted things and people end up there, with the people who do live there having to scavenge through trash to see if there are any valuables they can sell to make a living off of. Knowing this about the place that Sabo is from, one would assume that he is a child of misfortune, born into poverty with no home or family, because if you're 10 years old and living in a trash dump, something went seriously wrong. However, we find out that Sabo is the son of a wealthy and powerful aristocrat, and he's actually from the wealthiest section of the Goa Kingdom, the Highlands. He lived in a gorgeous house and was truly privileged, but he chose to run away from that life, despite having everything he could ever want in terms of material wealth, mainly because his parents were more concerned about using Sabo to boost their family status, instead of worrying about Sabo's own happiness and desires, telling him that his goal in life was basically to marry into royalty so that their family could be set, and they would punish Sabo for doing anything fun that wasn't going to push him closer towards this goal. At one point, Sabo says that he prefers to live in Great Terminal because his old life and wealth was suffocating. We can see here from a very early age that Sabo rejected the notion of being privileged and of higher status in favor of living free from oppression, even if it meant living in much poorer conditions in terms of material wealth. A feeling that we would really see develop alongside Sabo as his character developed. This rejection of nobility deepened when Sabo's father discovered that he was still alive and sent the pirate Blue Jam to retrieve him. Blue Jam's brutal methods and Sabo's forced return to the highlands only intensified Sabo's resentment of his noble status. When Sabo gets back home to the highlands, he found out that he had a new adopted brother. This little shit, Stelly. I hate this guy. Stelly tells Sabo that the nobles have been talking about burning down all of Trash Mountain, including the people there, in order to have a truly clean society. One of the reasons why is because a celestial dragon is coming to visit the Goa Kingdom and they want it to be spotless in their sick version of whatever spotless means. But the reality is that they probably just hate poor people. Sabo, of course, being a good kid with a good heart, is in complete disbelief that this is going to happen and goes to confirm for himself that this is true. And after overhearing some pirates discussing the plan, he confirms it. He then spends the next day going around town to see if the regular civilians in the highlands know about this plan, and as it turns out, everybody is well aware of what's going on. Sabo thinks everyone there is out of their mind, so he runs away to try to warn people about what's going on down in Trash Mountain and the Great Terminal. But it's too late by the time he reaches the gate out to Trash Mountain. The fire had already begun. And there near the gate, he meets Dragon for the first time and has a breakdown. He explains to Dragon that the aristocrats and royal family were responsible for this tragedy, to which he then exclaims that he's ashamed to have been born into nobility. He says, and I quote, "This town stinks worse than Trash Mountain. It's filled with the stink of rotten people. If I stay here, I'll never be free." End quote. And to show just how evil the ruling classes were in the Goa Kingdom, there's a small scene that shows a little girl in the highlands asking her father why the people of Trash Mountain deserve to die. To which then her father says that it's their fault they weren't born aristocrats.
What?
After the fire was mostly out, death squads were sent to Trash Mountain to kill any remaining survivors. So up to this point, Sabo hated the lifestyle of wealthy aristocrats for being stuck up, shallow, and oppressive. But this is his first time seeing how truly evil and cruel the ruling classes can be. In an attempt to have a, quote, clean society, they are willing to straight up systemically murder who knows how many people and burn what little they have to survive off of because they were deemed unworthy of life. This event definitely further radicalized Sabo, and it lifted the curtains fully, showing him just how unjust his world and class were. Sabo eventually has to go back to his house after this event, to which his dad tells him to have a change of heart and quit trying to escape, because he'll always bring him back. He explains to Sabo that because he gave him life, it's Sabo's duty to please his parents. Sabo thinks to himself at this point that he feels like a bird in a cage that must escape somehow. And on the day of the arrival of the world aristocrats and celestial dragons that I mentioned earlier, Sabo decides that he's going to interrupt their ceremony and set sail to sea all on his own on a stolen fishing boat. He even flies a black flag, indicating that he's declaring himself a pirate. On his way out to sea, numerous people are screaming at him to get back, because who knows what might happen if he interrupts the celestial dragon ceremony. Sabo pushes forward, however, stating that the thing he's most afraid of is being swallowed up by his nation, and there's no way he's going back. Sabo sails past the government ship, thinking to himself how he wishes that one day he can captain a ship that big. The celestial dragon on board the ship seems insulted that Sabo would dare cross his path during a ceremony. So what does he do? He fires a round into Sabo's fishing boat. You know, firing a round at a little 10-year-old boy on a fishing boat. Why not? And while Sabo was putting out the fire wondering why the hell they shot him, the celestial dragon fired another round at Sabo's fishing boat. And at that point it was assumed that there was no way Sabo survived and that he died during a final act of bravery, defying all rules and customs to follow his dream of being a pirate, and, most importantly, he died while being free.
In the arms of the angel.
What? Sabo doesn't die? What are you talking about?
What you mean? Doesn't he die right after getting shot at by the celestial dragon?
Nah, bro. Sabo gets picked up by Dragon right after that. Don't you remember?
Oh, you know what? I must have missed that. Hey, thanks, bro.
Hey, anytime, man. You know I'm always here to help.
You bet.
Anyways.
Pato ni kakumego ni naru. Sabo doesn't actually die. It's just one of the rare fake outs in the One Piece series. You know, a series notoriously known for not having enough fake outs in it. He ends up being saved by Dragon, who was already fond of Sabo for his class consciousness. Plus, he felt sorry for him, as he saw how much Sabo was ashamed of himself and the evils of his social class, and how much pain it brings him. You know, at the end of the day, he's just a little kid. He should be focused on playing games and stuff like that, not hating his social class. When Dragon brings Sabo back to the revolutionaries, he's in a coma-like state. Upon waking up from it, however, he realizes that he can't remember literally anything from his past, not even Ace or Luffy. All he remembers is how badly he does not want to go back home to his parents and homeland, telling the revolutionaries to take him anywhere but back home. The fact that he hates his homeland so much that he remembers his disdain for it when he doesn't even remember his brothers is insane to me. It shows that he's a real ass hater. Like, damn, you can't remember your beloved siblings, but you remember how much you hate the ruling class of your country? Mad respect. With this in mind, it's really no wonder that Sabo decided to stay and fight for the revolutionaries, considering that they were fighting against everything Sabo stood against: inequalities of both power and wealth, a ruling wealthy elite class with unchecked power, and the ability to commit atrocities with absolutely no consequences, and so on. This is one of the main reasons I believe Sabo embodies the spirit of revolution. Despite being born into an incredibly privileged life, he still decided to throw it all away, due to what he observed as a lack of humanity, ethics, and morals. And not only did he run away, he decided to join an organization with the main goal of destroying the ruling class of which he was born into. Sabo had nothing to gain from becoming a revolutionary, but because his sense of justice was stronger than his selfish desires of living lavishly, he decided to do the right thing. And trust me, Sabo wasn't just turning down a Ferrari and a mansion. He straight up could have been the king of the Goa Kingdom. His brother Stelly ended up becoming the king, and let's be for real, if Sabo wanted to, he could have very easily taken that from his bitch-ass hands. Sabo began his training with the Revolutionary Army shortly after regaining consciousness, specifically under the Fishman Hack. He trained alongside other orphans that the Revolutionary Army had saved, growing alongside them, and they became like a family that Sabo never had, or at least as far as he remembers. The Revolutionary Army raised him, took care of him, and assured that they all lived with a true sense of brotherhood and friendship. At age 13, Sabo began training under Dragon, and then eventually he trained with Kuma. He eventually started going on missions, alongside his comrades Koala and Hack, his former trainer. Sabo proved to be a more than capable member, working his way up the ranks and becoming second in command only below Dragon himself. Now, of course, at this point, Sabo is already extremely important, being second in command in the largest organization that opposes the world government and status quo. It's an enormous achievement, and it shows that Sabo is truly committed to the cause. However, it's not until after gaining his memories back from his childhood and reuniting with Luffy that we see his role as a revolutionary truly take off. And that takes me to part 3. Part 3. 炎の皇帝。One day, after the war in Marineford that ended with Ace being dead as hell, Sabo decided to read about it in a newspaper. He sees something that changes his life from there on out forever. He sees a picture of Ace alongside a headline declaring his death. This triggers something in Sabo's brain, and suddenly he could remember everything from his childhood, including Ace and Luffy. Realizing that his brother died, Sabo had a mental breakdown that knocked him out for 3 days. As soon as he woke up, he assured his comrades that he wasn't going to quit the Revolutionary Army, but he had a request to allow him to go get and consume the same devil fruit that Ace had, the Mera Mera, or the Flame fruit, which was being held at the Coliseum in Dressrosa as a reward for winning a fighting tournament. Sabo made his way to Dressrosa alongside Koala and Hack, where he had an emotional reunion with Luffy for the first time in years, and showing himself to be alive, of course, shocked Luffy in a positive way. Luffy had a disguise that he called Lucy that he was using to fight in the tournament for Ace's fruit, but he gave it to Sabo so that he can get the fruit instead, because Luffy knew that there would be no better candidate to take it besides Sabo. Sabo fought in the tournament, and eventually we find out that the fruit wasn't actually meant to be given away, but Sabo still managed to get to it and eat it, thus beginning his path toward becoming the Flame Emperor. After basically hijacking the devil fruit, Sabo escaped from the Colosseum to regroup with Hack and Koala. It is there that he reveals the reason he's truly there. Besides wanting to take the devil fruit, Sabo says that he's there on a mission to stop an arms trade that provides weapons to wars all over the world, an operation overseen by Doflamingo that's presumably making him boatloads of money, as we can see with all the wealth that he has. Not only does this show us that the Revolutionary Army, and specifically Sabo himself, are hell-bent on defeating injustice, but it's also a piece of world building that shows us how some evil individuals can profit off of and even fuel wars. And that's not the only messed up thing happening in Dressrosa. There's also a whole slave labor force of people turned into toys. Sabo's legend as the Flame Emperor begins and grows in this arc, as he helps to free the toy slaves, collects evidence against Doflamingo and a shady business practice that the world government was aware of, takes out a ton of Marines including a Vice Admiral, and overall helps Luffy topple an insane dictator, liberating the country of Dressrosa. And when he helped free the toy slaves, many of them were revolutionaries who had went to Dressrosa before on a similar mission as Sabo, but failed, and ended up getting caught. And the fact that Sabo was there to free them, and was part of the only team to succeed in the mission, boosted his legend by far. Sabo's name was now starting to become even more known, but it's his actions after Dressrosa that I believe truly make him the most important, impactful, and influential revolutionary member. Let's get to the Reverie arc. We know that the Reverie is a meeting of the most powerful people around the world in the wealthy land of Mary Joie. Well, Sabo and Dragon discussed and made a plan to break into the Reverie and declare war on the Celestial Dragons. While Sabo is there, however, he spots his old comrade Kuma, who was now turned into a slave for the Celestial Dragons to use. Sabo is of course furious about this, and his fellow comrades cast doubt over making any sort of plan to save Kuma due to the danger of such a mission. Despite the worries of his team, however, Sabo says that they'll either save Kuma or die trying, but they weren't going to abandon him. The fact that Sabo is ready to die for those he cares about is extremely telling of his revolutionary spirit. He already played a huge role in freeing the toy slaves in Dressrosa, many of which were fellow revolutionaries, and now he's willing to risk it all again to save one of the highest ranking members from the disgraceful and humiliating position that he's currently in. It really makes me think, what on earth is Dragon doing? Why is his entire team getting captured? And why does Sabo have to be the one to save them all the time? It was around this part in the series when I started thinking that maybe Sabo might just be the most important revolutionary member. Because if it wasn't for him, who the hell would be able to save these guys? But hey, I guess Dragon got a plan, right? Like letting his friend's wife die? Anyways, we find out later that Sabo successfully rescues Kuma, despite a tough fight versus the Navy and Admirals Fujitora and Ryokuju. The revolutionaries won, and of course so did Sabo, taking Kuma and a whole lot of other people being enslaved by the Celestial Dragons along with them. Sabo also gets accused here of killing King Cobra, and although this isn't true, it further boosts his image and legend. The actual situation, however, shows us just how far Sabo is willing to go for his cause, almost directly having to confront Imu and the 5 elders while trying to save King Cobra. He also mentions to Cobra while trying to save him that the kings themselves are not the enemies of the revolutionaries, but it's actually those who are above the kings, the ones who call the shots and manipulate and control history and the world agenda. Sabo discovered one of the most well-kept secrets in the One Piece world. The fact that there was a single ruler on the throne that was supposed to be empty. Imu is the one who rules over the world and controls the 5 elders. Sabo relayed this information to Dragon and Ivankov, which is a ridiculous important piece of information to know if you're trying to take down the establishment. Sabo also lets them know about what the government did to the country and people of Lelouch. They tested a super weapon that completely wiped out the nation. What was the reason of them doing that? Well, Lelouch was the closest nation to where the weapon was, of course. That's their actual reason. Yeah, the world government is evil as fuck. Sabo's most recent action that I believe boosted him to clearly be the most important and influential revolutionary was what he did with the people of Lelouch. Before it could be destroyed, Sabo rescued as many people as he possibly could, with many of those who he saved becoming members of the Revolutionary Army. This was not only a major contribution for the revolutionaries, but it was also stated that due to his actions, he was now almost a worshipped figure, becoming the face of hope and the revolution. It's stated that one could say his influence was now greater than that of Dragon himself. Part 4. Gakume no Seishin.
国々世界中の反乱の火種たちにおいちゃまるで奴を神のように崇め始めた。奴を炎帝と呼んでな。
It seems like no other revolutionary has managed to push forward the movement and its goals like Sabo has. And due to his actions specifically, they are now as big as they are. I mean, he literally is their most influential member at this moment. I don't think by the end of the series it's going to stay this way, as clearly Dragon does have to eventually do something after more than 20 years of One Piece. And I'm sure he'll do some completely broken shit that'll lead to a global revolution or something like that. But as of right now, Sabo has been the one at the forefront, doing all the dirty work and growing the Revolutionary Army through acts of bravery that no other member we've seen so far has come close to doing. In the future, his actions will definitely lead to a formidable revolutionary army that will likely end up helping Luffy and his allies in the final battles. He's added nearly a whole country of people to the revolutionaries and is getting stronger seemingly every time he goes on screen. There's no doubt he'll fight someone big. I like to think he'll fight a Kainu and beat him. It's a big task, but I would love to see Sabo beat a Kainu with Ace's Devil Fruit in a crazy twist. And Sabo's character development from being born into a privileged life with unlimited wealth into becoming a class trader and commander of a revolutionary army hell-bent on tearing down the status quo and ruling class of which he was a part of and could have reaped the benefits of, is the biggest reason I think he embodies the spirit of revolution. Sabo completely rejected privilege to do the right thing, and after forgetting his past memories and then regaining them, he still decides to fight for the revolutionaries, showing that he is devoted to the cause of revolution regardless of his circumstances. Oh, and this part might get people mad, not that I've ever cared about getting people mad, but in my opinion it's extremely hard to ignore this. Sabo has a lot of parallels with real-life revolutionaries, specifically Che Guevara. Now I know Che is a controversial figure, but hear me out. They were both born into wealth and eventually left home and saw how poverty and inequalities can cripple populations. They both then rejected living a privileged, wealthy life in exchange for fighting to make the world a better place, and both joined a revolutionary army, becoming the second command in their respective armies, and one can make the case that they were the most important members. And oh yeah, the organizations use ships that carry the same name. The Wind Granma is the ship the revolutionaries in One Piece use, and the Granma was the ship used by the Cuban revolutionaries. And now even the imagery used for Sabo and the way he's been turned into the face of revolution to the point where he's almost worshipped is very similar to Che's image nowadays. Look man, a lot of characters in One Piece are based off real life people, and Che Guevara is literally on Oda, the author of One Piece's desk. So if Oda decided to make a character based off Che, it should not be a surprise to anybody.
Yes, sir. Now I can talk to my boy again. Thank y'all for watching. Make sure y'all like this video, comment something, and subscribe. And remember, y'all, don't waste time trying to be nobody else, because the coolest thing you can be is your motherfucking self. Anyway, what was you telling me about Bowl, bro?